everyone. I wanted to talk about how I think people have a fixed mindset and they don't believe that they can change. Um, People don't believe that they can rehabilitate themselves. And I sort of understand where it's coming from, but because I was sort of like that, you feel a bit hopeless, so you feel like you really can't change. I will talk about my personal history because I think it's relevant, but I didn't grow up with a sense of self. I didn't grow up with a knowing of who I was. I grew up in a very abusive, very neglectful sort of way where I wasn't allowed or encouraged or to explore myself and understand who I was. And that created a lot of sort of holes is the best way I can describe it, but maybe like more, I didn't really understand who I was. I didn't explore myself. I didn't think I was worthy of exploration. I wasn't really interested in understanding who I was. And at the same time that this was true, I held a lot of the things, that's like a lot, kind of like looking back, right? But at the time, I held a lot of the things that I perceived as me very close to my heart, as like a sort of armor. I can now look back and understand that actually I didn't know who I was. But at the time, I felt like I knew, and I was holding very close the few things that I knew about myself. I was holding them very close. So I was like, I was this, I was that. And some things were sort of true and understandable, right? Like they were really things that I liked. But because I also didn't really know who I was, I collapsed a lot into the things that I liked. They became my whole personality and not just things that I, enjoyed. So who I was dating, like whatever, my hobbies, my temperament, the things that I liked, like everything kind of became, instead of becoming something that I just interacted with and liked and enjoyed, but there were maybe facets of my personality, they became my whole thing. That's how, like, when I got a dog, my dog was my whole life. That's when I got like married, but even before that, when I met my wife, it was like my whole world, and sort of just now I understood how these things are just parts of me, but they're not me. And I think underneath it is like a need to belong, a need to be seen, a need to have something concrete that you can hold, so you feel like, okay, well, these things, these things are me, so you can really hold on to them and feel like they give you strength and they give you like ground. The problem, of course, with that is that when these things don't go well or they wobble, it sort of shocks you and rocks your whole world instead of just becoming like a part. And you also sort of, underneath it all, you also sort of don't develop yourself, don't focus on yourself, so it's like just a way of sort of escaping who you are. But I met throughout my life, and I've been that person as well, of just sort of not believing that you can be rehabilitated, and holding these things very close. Even sometimes, like, we are attached to our trauma, so being like, oh, this happened to me, and holding very close to it, we don't allow ourselves to kind of move away, not, well, yes, but through these things, so we don't seek the help we deserve, we don't seek we don't seek ourselves, we sort of stagnate a little bit, and we keep like getting closed off because we need that certain certitude about our life. And I just see it like I had got the idea to make this video because I saw also, like, some people will also do the same with dogs. I meet people who's like, oh, that dog has been abused, but they don't really seek to rehabilitate, or sort of, we can be trained. We can, just like dogs, we can rehabilitate ourselves and get better and get help and change things. And it's our belief that we are stagnant. It's our belief to be like, oh, I am like this, I am this broken person. Sometimes it's also like a protective mechanism, I'm sure, to, you know, hide under and not allow ourselves to fully grow out of it because, you know, things are a crutch. But we really kind of betray ourselves by continuing to choose to hold ourselves kind of prisoner of our own trauma. And partly it's also because we don't really know how to ask for help, and if you grew up like me, you don't believe that you deserve it, you don't believe that you can ask for it, you don't believe that you can, you know, access it. So there's also the element of like, you can't really, even if you do have a glimmer of like trying to get help, you don't feel like you fully deserve it. And I don't think it shows up quite like, oh, I don't deserve it. I think it shows up quite as like, I can't be helped. Or you will criticize the professions that might be able to help, like therapy, or you won't like fully engage in the process. There's many ways, you know, things are quite complex. But I just thought about this, about how we really don't believe that we can rehabilitate and change, and we get into a fixed mindset, and that's really, really dangerous. Because it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in wherever you are, and it doesn't allow you to access help. And you will continue to perpetuate this cycle until you break it. I guess maybe for humans, not for dogs, but I guess maybe for humans, I can talk a little bit about how I broke that cycle. I don't really know that there's like one step, but I think it's a gradual realization. I kept looking for meaning. I kept looking for a sense of like who I was, trying to attach myself to things. It's like you try to attach yourself to things because you don't feel whole inside, so you have to get something else on the outside of yourself for it to make sense. But I guess, I mean, therapy, I started therapy quite early on in my relationship, so that was definitely, in psychoanalysis specifically, or psychodynamic therapy specifically. But maybe, I don't know what was the sort of trigger. There wasn't a single one, I'm guessing, but I started like slowly to understand that I was worthy of help, and it's just like kicked in now that I'm understanding that I am worthy of help, that I am worthy of, you know, getting better. I'm worthy of asking for help. I'm worthy of receiving it. Because I haven't been well, you know. It's like you'll continue also to get sicker and sicker and believe that in some way that you're not worthy of it, you know. It's a tough place to be. But I guess I do have one tip. Engage in the things that you like. Follow your curiosity, wherever that curiosity may lead you. There's a reason why you're curious about these things. There's a reason you're interested, and just follow that. It will always lead you to something different. Some interest, some, you know, something. It will develop something in you. You will meet yourself or someone, or something will happen that will sort of propulse you forward. Because if you grew up like me, you get stuck, and that stickiness is really, really hard to kind of shake off. And so the only way is to do something different, to do and to follow your curiosity. I think it's the best way to try to reconnect. I didn't connect to my curiosity. I didn't connect to my kind of desire for a long time, so I had no idea what I wanted. But just start somewhere. Just start with something small that is top of mind, something that you've been wanting to do, and just go from there. You know, it will for sure lead you to something else, and we make progress that way. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are alone together. You know, so no one can do this for you. No one else can come and sort of rescue you. I know when people would say that to me, it didn't really make sense, but we do wait for someone to come. For me, it was my wife, and it's not always bad, right? Like, a relationship is not kind of, we can't make it perfect to be like, oh, only when I've healed, like, I can meet someone. Sometimes, like, you know, people come along and they do help you. But I understood now that, you know, no one can do that work for me. Only I can do that work for me. Only I can, you know, get myself the help that I need, because only I know what I need. Only I have that data, you know. But accept help from people along the way, because even if it's not exactly what you need or whatever, it will lead you to somewhere else. So yeah, if you're stuck in life, just try something. Just have one conversation. Just go, I don't know, work out. Do something. And try to do a little bit more and a little bit more. And for sure it will lead you somewhere different. That's all. I have huge sympathy for, I was going to say for people, but for ourselves. I have huge sympathy and empathy for you know, for, I imagine that there's other people like me that grew up the way I did and got stuck. And this is kind of my process of getting unstuck, you know. Makes me emotional to think about it and to talk about it. But yeah, this is my, it's not my one thing, but this is my one of the things that I do. So I want to share my wisdom. I want to share my journey because I think it's an interesting one. I came from the depth of despair, so I understand it's a tough road, but I want to document it because I think it's interesting. You know, I don't see many people like me who, like, it's very easy to talk about when things are good and you sort of process them, and I'm in the process of it, and you know, it's like I come from far. I think so. I think it's interesting, you know. I want to share, and I want to connect with other people who are in the same place or have been in the same place, so that, you know, I'm not alone. And I am alone, but we're alone together. So anyway, my hopes to you that this lifts you up in some way, and at least you know you're not alone. Yeah, that's it. Bye.